Hey, how is everyone? Stuart,
Hey, good to see you.
what's happening? Good to see you. Look at that. I see Mr. Bill Babcock. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Ref. How are you?
I'm doing great. You're in a baseball game. That's great.
I'm anticipating watching the Red Sox win another one this evening.
Uh-huh.
Crowd aren't chanting anything back in the background there, are they?
Only when I see A-Rod.
I see
Steven should
20.
recognize this.
Is that an urn?
I do recognize that. I have that same thing.
Yeah, it's a shaker that my friend here, Steven, recommended highly that I acquire. So it's a high-tech vacuum sealed shaker. It's very cool.
Okay, just glad it's not an urn.
Bill,
Wait, Stuart.
you've got an awesome sounding speaking voice. It makes me think that there's no reason we couldn't offer voiceovers on Compose for people.
That's
right.
true. I actually used to do a lot of voiceover work on local radio.
Oh, wow. Good to know.
Also helped when I was doing sales. Back when I was trying to be a rock and roll star, every musician in the Boston area, Stephen may remember this. There was a company called Warren, Gore and Lamont, and they were a publishing company that did accounting, texts. They did tax, a bunch of business stuff like that, and for whatever reason, they loved hiring musicians, and every musician I knew in the Boston scene, every band had at least two people that worked in telemarketing there. It was hilarious.
Wow. Very cool. All right, one more minute. Wow, I see some names here from the good old days of Compose.
I love it.
Yeah. Stuart, you're probably the furthest away, I think, maybe, from me anyway.
Yeah. I'm almost at the opposite side of the world, which is amazing.
Isn't Tez over there too?
He is, yep. Same city.
Oh, really? Same city?
We've yet to meet up in person, but we tried to. It's harder now with the lockdown, I can tell you.
Right. Is there still a lockdown in Australia? I thought you guys were wide open now.
No, it ends this Friday.
Okay. All right, well, I'm going to just kick this off. I'm going to start sharing here. Here's what I'm going to do. I got a little PowerPoint presentation that I'm just going to kind of run through. It helps me organize my thoughts. And then I'm going to do a demo of the new site. And then at the end of the presentation, you'll have the URL for the demo site. You can go on there and kick the tires and play around with it. So let's get going here. Let's see. I'm going to try to do this. All right. I think that worked.
There you go.
There we go.
Seeing that slide? Okay, great. All right. So actually what I wanted to do was start with sort of a walk through memory lane here. I found some old screenshots of the original site when we launched back in 2007. And some of you may remember those were some sketchy days in terms of the technology. I actually had a computer running out of my home office with an old ISDN line coming into the house, and it was constantly going up and down. And I think there was a hard drive crash where we were down for a few days while I had to have it recovered, and that was kind of scary. So back in 2010, we moved everything over to Amazon, and so and kind of did a site refresh at the time. We started doing contests. You'll see the Rudy Sarzo contest back there and some other ones. And then in 2014, of course, we relaunched the new site, upgraded from a Flash audio player to an embedded HTML player, and added some new bells and whistles. And then in 2021, in December here, we're going to launch the 3.0 version. And so let me just get into all of the different changes because there are lots of them. Some of them may be controversial, some of them are going to be, I think, exciting. Definitely the audio player is vastly improved. So let's just kind of go through that. In Kompoz 3.0, there are three big sort of sections of the site. The first section is the studio, and this is the tagline represents there. This is where music is made, right? So this is where you'll spend most of your time working with your collaborators and projects, and something that I'll introduce called track requests. The other big thing in Kompoz, and the way I'm thinking about these is I've sort of segmented the site into these three different kind of components. So there's a studio, there is radio, which is, as the tagline represents there, where music is heard. And today that's on SoundBlend. I'm bringing that back into the website and making it a little bit more, combining the two and supporting the two into one different site, into one site. And then there's a community, which we have today. So let me start talking about Studio and all the different changes that we've got going on in there. So the first thing you'll notice is that collaborations have been renamed to projects. Now, why did I do that? Now, if you remember Kompoz 1.0, they were projects. And then when we switched to the 2.0 platform, we renamed them to collaborations. And I'm kind of going back to the projects concept. And the primary reason for that, the driver, is that with 3.0, listening to all the different feedback and you know, I've been trying to get new members to join the site. And the one thing I hear all the time is that my stuff feels too out there. It's in the it's on the internet. It's too public. I want a more private, project-based sort of workspace. So that's part of the reason for that. And you'll see some of the ways I've sort of approached that, and some of the ways that I've addressed the issue of, well, if everything is a project and privacy is a big concern, how do you collaborate with other people? How do you find new members? So I'll talk a little bit about that. Tracks are organized with folders and filters. So right now, today, everything just kind of ends up in this list of files, and they are kind of grouped by track types, but they're kind of difficult to sort of manage. So I've taken the approach of, just like, you know, your file system that you're used to on Windows or on your Mac. You can create folders, you can create subfolders, you can move stuff around. It's a lot more organized in that sense. And I've vastly improved the audio player, especially the regions where you can actually mark sections of the audio and comment on that. Makes it a lot easier now in the 3.0 platform. I'll show you how that works. And then here's the big, maybe controversial part, is that all projects and tracks are now private. So as you know today, projects can be public or private. I'm getting rid of the concept of public projects. And this again speaks to the privacy issue and the ability to kind of protect your you know, intellectual property as you're developing your projects out. So tracks are private. So the big question is, how do you collaborate with others? The way you do that is with track requests. Track requests are public. Track requests, as the name implies, we'll just kind of go into that. They're kind of searchable postings. So you go in there and you say, you know what, I'm looking for a bass player or a drummer or a guitar player. And these track requests are categorized. They have track types. So you specify what type you want. A genre, you can put in a description, you can put in a title for it. And you can also attach audio or any kind of asset, really. So the idea here is that, you know, your tracks are private, but you can say, I'm looking for a guitar player. Here is a mix with no guitars. It's attached to the track request. You can download it, you can pull it into your project. But that's the only thing sort of the public will see. So you can kind of control what is accessible by the public. Now, if you want, you can actually make everything attached to your track request. So if you wanted all of your tracks, you could do that. So essentially you get the public sort of feel for a project that way. But that's really not the intention. That's not the right way to do it. You'll probably want to provide, one or more assets, maybe a mix, maybe a low fidelity, so that you're not sort of putting your best work out there for anyone to kind of download and steal and get, Google indexed and all of that. And the other big concept is that these track requests, they are time-based. They expire. And the reason for that is, and I hear this all the time, hey, I'm out there, I'm searching, I find a project and it's 10 years old and nobody's actually doing anything with it anymore, right? We don't want that. We want everything to be fresh. So if you're searching and you're spending the time to work on somebody's project, the idea here is that you've got a pretty good sense of the fact that it's going to be current. Now you can, as a project owner, when you post one of these, you'll get a notification that it's about to expire, and you can repost it if you want, right? So if you haven't found that perfect track, but you can certainly repost it. But it's up to you to do that. If you don't, then it's going to go away, right? Because that sort of indicates that you're not actively managing your projects. Okay, so where do you find these? They're going to appear on something I'm calling the pickup board. And I kind of stole this concept from my kids who love to play basketball out in the streets. They kind of create these pickup games. You just kind of go out there and you show up and you can kind of jump in on a game. That's kind of the same concept. So the pickup board is sort of the main studio landing page. This is where all the track requests will reside. And you can filter those by the types and the genres and even by users. Hey, I'm a guitar player, show me guitar track requests that maybe Stuart has posted, or that are for rock, or for jazz or ballads or whatever you want. So you can kind of filter those and sort them and kind of make them very easy to find. They're color coded just to kind of make it easier to scan on the site. So, I can quickly scan and see, oh yeah, those red track requests, those are drums. I can just kind of filter by those. And then the other thing you can do is create your own pickup lists. So as you find things that you think might be interesting that you want to work on, you can quickly pin them to your own lists. And you can create multiple lists so that you can kind of move them around and as you're working on things and sort them and all of that. This is sort of like a project management feature to help you sort of organize the tracks that you might want to work on, the track requests you might want to work on. Okay, so the next concept is submissions. So you submit ideas, your tracks, to a track request, not to the project itself. So when you do find a track request that you're interested in, there's that guitar track that Stuart is requesting, I will submit my tracks to that track request. They don't get added to your project until you, as a project owner, go in there, listen to them, and then accept them. And then you can import them into your project. So again, it keeps your project very clean. It's not muddled with a bunch of ideas that people have uploaded. They're kind of separated from the track requests themselves. So you can accept them and import them into your project. And users are added to a project when the submissions are accepted, or if you invite them to your project, right?
And that's no change from how it is now.
That is pretty much the way it works now today, right? Yeah. Actually, there's one more concept that I didn't put it a bullet here, but the other thing is that when you submit your ideas to a track request, only you and the project members can hear it, right? So it kind of, again, kind of protects you as somebody who is maybe submitting an idea. You don't want the rest of the world to hear it and steal your ideas and maybe submit something different or better or modified. It's yours until it gets accepted into the project. I saw a hand go up. Jim.
Hey there. So I'm doing well, thanks. I had a question about, well, actually I had a little bit of a concern, because one of the things I like about Kompoz is that you put a project out there, you put a collaboration out there or whatever it is, and you put a mix down and it's public. And so if you're looking for something to contribute to, you can just go and start browsing through the collaboration's newest first, right? And just see what's out there. And people just jump in, post, hey, that's really cool, and then they're out. some people who, normally play guitar might jump in and go, what would sound really cool on this is I also play the, I don't know, tuba. And so they add the tuba, or, just people get ideas bouncing off and just browsing through public projects. So if you just have a private one and all you say is, I want guitar, and you put that out there, I don't know how easily that's going to be. I don't know if the community is going to see that as well, if it's going to be as easy to discover
Right.
hidden gems, if everything is private with just little holes poked into that privacy for very specific things.
Right.
I'm a little concerned about that, losing some of that sense of discovery and community.
Fair point. And that was one of the controversial topics that I knew would kind of pop up. And so I do want to talk about that once we get into the community section and also into the radio section. So I think you'll see that I've enabled a bunch of sharing components that maybe will address some of your concerns, but maybe not. I mean, it's certainly a valid concern. I did talk to a lot of people about this, and it was one of those things about, I just had to kind of make a decision about what the right way to go is. There is still the possibility that that we can make private projects public. But I really don't feel that's the right way to go. I think the way to do that is to release something, to specifically say, I want to release this project as a mix, or share things through the community. But hold your comments or hold your thoughts on that, or go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just going to expand on that, because one of the things that has worked for me in the past is I create a collaboration, I put in my first mix down, and I make it public, and I say, I'm looking for the following 10 things potentially: drums, bass, guitar, xylophone, tambourine, whatever, triangle, right? I'm looking for these things. And then people just start jumping in and adding stuff. And once I feel like I've got enough things that are completing the track, or we're getting to the end, then I can make it private at that point. It's like, okay, the public part of this collaboration is done.
Right.
And now it moves into the private mode, where we're going to mix master, and it's going to be, it was a copyright track all along and not Creative Commons. And so now it's going to be private, and now we're going to do other things with it. And that seemed to invite a lot of creativity and a lot of outside participation from people normally I wouldn't know about, wouldn't invite. They just discovered it. I just discovered them. I put it out for guitar, and somebody who plays drums jumped in and said, you're asking for a guitar, but have you tried this? And so again, I think that comes back to my original concern is just by tightening down that privacy control. I think some of what made Kompoz unique, separated it from, like Indaba and some of these other things out there, was that openness, and that invited that kind of sense of community, at least initially, and then you can close it off if you need to. I mean, I don't know, that's just a concern I have.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I totally hear you. Now you can, as I mentioned earlier, you can create a track request and just kind of attach everything if you want to. The other thing is, and I'm just kind of thinking through this as you're talking, I do have the concept of a track request as other, right? Anything you want, just add something. Maybe I can expand on that even further and say this is not a track request, but a collaboration request. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, and maybe have a different sort of capabilities. I think you can kind of accomplish the same thing. Let me think a little bit more about that. I hear you, and see what I can kind of come up with. And maybe as you start playing with the site, you may come up with some ideas as well.
Hey, Rap, to go a little further on Jim's suggestion.
Yep.
The search engine. I mean, most of us all deal with certain people on a routine basis. So, we have our who we like, who we don't like, and whatnot. But then if you're searching for something in particular, the search engine really limits, even if you try to broaden it as much, to bring everything in, it limits how many you see of the people that you're looking for. Say, I'm looking for drums. Let me see all the drummers. Right. You basically get a page and that's it. I know there's more drummers out there,
Yeah.
But you don't really get to see that. It
Yeah.
doesn't list them that way. I was just curious as to whether if the search engine was going to be improved as well.
The search engine in 2.x sucks. I totally agree with you guys. And I've heard that many times. Yeah, one of the things I'm actually going to do is community. You'll see it's actually going to grow into more than just, you know, posts and videos and whatnot. I want to have a whole section on users, you know, so you can actually browse and search users. You can see who's been online or who's online currently. There's going to be a chat feature. There's going to be a lot more of that.
Okay.
And as you'll see also with releases, with track requests, with just about anything, you'll be able to filter and sort based on your collaborators, your regular group of friends, and really by anybody. But I think the biggest change is going to be this concept of searching for specific users by just about anything that you can think of. So I'm hoping that that's going to be a big one.
Okay.
So does that mean this is catered more towards if you already have that group of people that you regularly work with? Because I'm
No.
How is discovery going to happen? Like,
Yeah,
if somebody's new to the site and needs to gain that group of people you work with. I mean, I haven't put a track on there in a few years, and so a lot of the people I've worked with have either passed on from the spiritual realm or from Kompoz, and just, you know, there's not. I don't have that same group that I normally kind of go to, and so I would need to discover again. And I'm
Yeah.
wondering who's out there.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect that some of this will be stuff we discover when we start playing around with the demo site as well.
Yeah. For sure, I think that as a new user, what you want to do is the most important thing is to get involved. And the hardest part is also getting involved, right? Because if you don't have that group of people you've been collaborating with, it's kind of hard to build that up. So I think discovery is, you know, probably starts with something like, who are the active drummers? Who are the people that contribute the most? You know, maybe I can reach out to them first. There's going to be a lot of I'm working on trying to get people connected, and that's the hardest part, because once you make a connection, you know, it does become sort of pretty infectious. You know, it's something you want to keep doing. So that's the key. And I don't have all the answers yet, but definitely creating like a page where you actually interact with people, even outside of the music. You just start sort of understanding who they are and what they do and how often they're on and all of that. That's going to be important.
But you still have an invite option. It's not just track.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. There's an invite. I'll show you that as we with the demo here. So let me keep going because there's quite a bit to go through. I think once you start seeing the site, you'll understand a little bit better. Okay, so the next piece was radio. So this is again, kind of bringing Sound Blend, instead of it being a separate site, bringing it back onto the website itself. And the way this works is project managers publish releases from their projects right to the Kompoz radio piece. Just like on Sound Blend, you can put liner notes, lyrics, copyright statements, and a bunch of other metadata about your songs. We have this new audio player, which I've been talking about. It kind of sticks to the bottom of the page. So even as you're browsing around the site and moving through different pages, your audio doesn't stop like it does now. Today, you post a comment and suddenly audio stops. It's kind of a pain. So that kind of goes away. The other thing is you can create playlists now. Playlists can be both public and private. And I think this is going to be a great way to discover new music, right? Because I do this as I'm sort of finding sites or songs. I'll add them to lists, but those lists aren't really discoverable or public or anything like that. And it'd be really cool if you can say, you know, what is Jim listening to? You know, or what is Bill listening to? And just kind of see all of those different tracks out there. Yeah, so they can be shared with all visitors of the site, and they're actually very public and visible in the radio section, much like you'll see on Spotify and some of the other sites. Playlists use the same audio player. There's even a shuffle feature, so you can just kind of, you know, click it and play it, and it starts shuffling through songs and playing them and all of that. All All right, so the other piece, any questions on radio? It's pretty straightforward. It's again,
One quick question. I know this is probably a silly question, but when you are playing a playlist, will it automatically go to the next song and start playing it?
yes, it will. Yeah.
Okay, just checking, because you used to have that on the original Kompoz, and that went away in the second version. So just want to check. Cool.
Yeah, definitely.
And the other thing too, you used to have where the songs are ranked, and it would change every so often. I thought that was pretty neat. Is that gonna be included?
When you say ranked, you mean because I had two things.
It was like the most played, the most whatever, who's making more money and whatnot on it.
Right.
Somewhat of a popularity, the song's current popularity, ranking. I think that's what he's referring to.
Yeah.
You won't see it in the demo right now, but I definitely do want to bring that back. I want to do a little bit better than I did before. Because popularity is tough, right? Because it's really time-based. Because songs that have been out there for a long time typically get the most likes, and that doesn't mean they're the most popular today, right? So,
right.
I don't think that the old site did a good job of kind of ranking that. So, yeah. And it should be by genre and by a lot of different things, right? There's a lot of different ways to sort of slice and dice what popular songs are, what's ranking today. Okay, community. Here's another big change. Today we have user groups. Those are being renamed. They're now called communities. And in fact, everything sort of becomes a community. Like the community page that exists on Kompoz today is not really within a user group, but going forward it will be. I'm calling it the open mic community, and it's sort of the main community. And it's going to have all the same features that we have today on the community site, but it kind of exists now within, again, it used to be called a user group, but now they're called communities. The cool thing about this is that all of the features of a community or a user group will now be available on the main page. Polls, I'm introducing the concept of photo albums. And by the way, your user profiles will also have photos like we used to have way back in the old days. We don't have anymore. You can attach just about anything you can think of on Kompoz can be attached to a community post, including playlists and releases and track requests and lots of other things. Stuart, I see you've got your hand up.
Could we have videos where people have videoed their performance in order to make a collage later on?
Yeah, you can do videos, but it's kind of like we have today. It's you can attach like a YouTube video or a Vimeo video, if that's what you mean. Let me see. I see some other hands going up. I can't really see who they are. Oh, Bill's got one up.
Yeah, quick question. One of the will we be able to share things or attach things to individual posts within a thread of things? Because right now, the only time you can add, like, for example, a picture of something is in the original post in a thread.
So you're saying like in a comment to the thread?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right now I don't have that, but let me add that as an idea. Shouldn't be too hard to do actually, because I've made comments. I mean, everything has this concept of being able to attach things.
Cool.
Are there any other hands up? It's hard for me to see when I'm presenting. Just shout them out. All right. Okay, so community posts can include multiple attachments, including track requests, releases, playlists, photo galleries, and videos. Today on the community page, you could only really attach one thing at a time. That kind of goes away. You can pretty much attach, multiple track requests, for example. Like let's say you're working on a project, you've got 10 different track requests out there. You can attach them all to one post. They can be public or private, and they can be visible or hidden. Very standard. You'll see like on Facebook groups and a bunch of other sites, it's the same kind of concept. Public means that anyone can join it. Private means you have to be accepted. And then of course they're visible means that they're discoverable, and hidden means that, you know, they're not. So you have to be sort of invited to those. The other big change I'm making is that communities all now have to have formal moderators, right? I want to be able to rely on us as composers, collaborators, community members to moderate our own communities, right? So you can assign multiple moderators to your communities, and they have, you know, powers to delete posts, edit posts, things like that, block users, all of that. You know, we want to protect our space and try to keep the spammers out. So, you know, I can't do it myself. We're going to rely on people to do that. New members, as they join the site, they're going to be auto-invited to the open mic community. That was the main community I mentioned earlier. So hopefully we'll get a lot of, you know, collaborators going into that space. So those are the big threes: studio, releases, or the radio piece, and community. There's two other pieces that I've introduced here that I do want to talk about. They're not really important in terms of collaboration, but I do want to talk about them. Oh, Bill, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I'm trying to use the hand thing.
No, thank you.
My question was related to moderators.
Yeah.
I got a lot of questions, but I'm trying to let you get to them. So how do you intend, or how do you propose that moderators be chosen? Because, for example, you know, I'm probably like a bad choice as a moderator because I'm fairly opinionated and I can be quick to like decide on something, which may not be, yeah, I know, it's hard to believe that. So I may not be the best of choices as a moderator. So, but I'm curious as to how you envision the choice of moderators to be.
I don't know.
Okay,
honestly.
Fair enough.
You know, there's going to be, I'm going to be very careful and selective about that with the open mic community, because that's sort of the public community owned and managed by Kompoz. But all of the other communities are owned by the members, right? So if you create a community, you decide who the moderators are. You know, it could be you and your group of friends.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Now, you know, what I don't want to happen though is to people create these little sort of clubs and, you know, be mean to other people. And so I'm going to be careful about looking to see how other people are managing their own communities. But yeah, you know, that's a tricky one. I've always tried to, it's difficult with communities like Kompoz, because I want to keep it open, I want to keep it free, I want to keep it public, but I also don't want jerks, and I don't want spam, and I don't want hate, and I don't want any of that. So, and I don't want censorship, but I do, but I don't, but I do, but I don't. You know, it's tricky. So I'm trying to spell things out in the terms of use as much as I can, in terms of what constitutes, you know, hate or pornography or spam or any of that type of stuff. But, you know, I do rely on, you know, the sort of flag feature that I have today on the site. I do look at all of those, and you know, sometimes it's really tricky to decide, you know, do I delete this or not? You know, it's, you don't want to silence people, but you also don't want to, I don't want, this is supposed to be about music and collaboration, right? Not about politics and not about, you know, anything else. So it's tricky. I don't know if I answered your question or not, but so yeah, the other big piece or significant piece, I think, is I'm calling it Kompoz University. So this is kind of getting a top level billing on the site to just try to help with the learning aspect of Kompoz. People that have been here a long time, it's pretty sort of straightforward, but if you're hitting it for the first time, it's pretty confusing. So I'm trying to help with that. And then here's the other sort of big thing is that you'll start to see ads on the site. And I'll talk a little bit about that, because it's not going to be maybe the ads you're thinking of. But so let's talk about Kompoz University. Top level first class feature, meaning that it's on the top level nav bar, right? Today it's sort of, there's a help center at the footer and it's kind of hard to find. I want to elevate that. I want to make it a little bit more prevalent. In fact, when you sort of join for the first time, we're going to be directing you there. You'll see on the home page, there's a big Learn More button that kind of takes you there as well. It's really just a series of articles. Articles can have videos attached and other things. And they're grouped by topics, things like, you know, how do you record? How do you upload to a project? How do you create a project? Things like that. And then the other thing I introduced was the concept of having comments added to these articles, right? So that people can kind of learn from people that have been using the site for a while. So I'm hoping you guys will go in there and add real world experience and notes and things like that, so that it becomes a sort of crowdsourced concept, right? Not just things that I wrote.
Is that moderated as well?
Yes, that'll be moderated as well. Absolutely. And then part of that, so there's the Kompoz University itself, but sprinkled throughout the site, you'll start to see a bunch of links that say, you know, what's this? And that's going to bring up sort of help in context to what you're looking at. So if you're looking at a track request and you're confused about what the pickup board is, there's a link for that. And it'll kind of bring over this little sidebar that kind of describes it. And then there'll be a link to a Kompoz University article if you need more details. So really trying to kind of bring that help experience into the workflow itself. All right, and I'll show you that as well. So the other thing is advertising. I want to talk a little bit about this because I don't want to scare people away with it. And I want to sort of tell you why I'm doing it. So it's going to be a self-serve ad platform. This is not going to be Google Ads. This is not going to be, you know, ads that you might see for, you know, GM selling cars that you might see on your news websites or things like that. This is going to be kind of like Facebook, where you can go in there and create your own ads. But I am going to very much vet these. I don't want ads for things that are not relevant or brand acceptable, right? If it's not about, you know, music, if it's not about something that is going to be useful to our community, I really don't want them on the site. But there are I get a lot of emails every day about people who want to reach our members, and I've very much pushed back on that so far. But I think that there are some that are actually very valuable. Like I see songwriting contests that are going all the time. You know, I think that those would be valuable and interesting to our members.
Okay.
And these are going to be pretty limited. You'll see them in the community page on the sidebar, but they're going to be very unobtrusive. You're not going to see them in your projects. You're not going to see them in your, you know, when you're working with your collaborators on you know, your songs. It's going to be more in sort of the public spaces. And definitely none of those like pop-up or takeover ads. You're not going to see any of that. I think they'll be okay. Yeah, and the reason I'm doing this is that I really want to make a lot of the Plus, Pro, and Premium features free, right? I think that the site would be better served by having everyone have access to all the premium features, right? So I'm sort of switching the revenue model away from you guys more towards people that want to talk to you guys. And I think that that's going to be a fair trade-off. If it's not, then I'll pull it back. But I really do think that we as a community would be better served if we all had access to, you know, uploading WAV files for everybody, you know, that kind of deal.
I agree.
Yeah. So that's sort of the main driver. Oh yeah, so they're native card-based ads only. I'll show you some examples of that. All right, so I have some other topics. That's really the main sort of concepts, but I have some other topics that I want to run through real quick.
Can I ask a question about the ads real quick?
Sure.
Well, two things. The first question was going to be, will there be an option for like Premier members to not have to see the ads? But then you said something like you're looking to getting rid of the Premier, or at least making those features available for everyone. And if the Premier features are available for everyone, then what is then the benefit of the Premier membership? And are you going to be changing that?
I don't know. Quite honestly, Jim, I don't know. We're kind of modeling it out with the goal. Again, my goal is I really want to make the site more accessible for everybody. But I do think that there are some things that would still be valuable in a paid membership model. I just haven't worked out exactly what all of those things are. It could be things like, hey, you can create X number of projects per year or something like that. I don't know. I don't really want, people just kind of using this to store files. I don't want it to be a Dropbox, that's for sure. So yeah, I have to kind of model that out and, talk to my business partner and kind of figure out what the right mix is. But
Have you thought, well, that brings up something really important. Have you thought about maybe doing API calls into Dropbox and or Google Drive or Box, one of those things that say, hey, if you want to upload files to the project, link Compose to your Google Drive or link Compose to your Dropbox. So actually it uses the user's storage that they have or are paying for rather than yours. So if I'm uploading projects to the track, it's actually uploading them into my Google Drive and putting them there, or I can link to a file that's already in my Google Drive or I'm in my Dropbox. So I'm not using any of your storage, I'm using my storage. So the limitation is now on me, not on you.
Yeah, but isn't that going to cause playback issues when you're trying to get bandwidth from wherever you've got it stored to the Compose site?
Yeah. There's two.
Yeah, I suppose it would.
Yeah, two main challenges with that. One is the playback issue because I do, and by the way, the transcoder that I've got today in Compose, when you upload it, I do transcode it to make it a little bit faster to play back these large WAV files that are, 50 gig or 50 meg, I should say, probably 100 meg. Those don't stream well, right? So as soon as you upload one of those, I do transcode it into a much smaller MP3 designed for streaming that's stored on our servers. There's that. But the other issue is that I'm really concerned about this scenario, right? So you've been working on a project, you've got 10 other people vested in your project. You take your Dropbox and run, now all of those tracks that other people had that were working on them, they don't really have much control over that. By storing them on our servers, we have a lot more control over that situation and kind of protect everybody else. Yeah, so that's kind of my thinking there.
Pretty sure that Compose's storage bills probably put Blue Horizon into space.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's another thing to consider is maybe your premier membership tiers or whatever is based on the amount of storage, not the amount of projects, maybe something else. If you've got storage issues and your buckets out there in the cloud are just taking up way too many terabytes and it's all about, hey, I need to conserve my space, then, make that part of what the membership tier gets you is
100%.
How much.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
That's a very good point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Let me write that down. All space.
Yeah, I mean, this leads into a question it just occurred to me as we were talking about it, but one of the things that I've run across in the past is working on collaborations where you have a very long sort of epic song, and you get to a point today where you're unable to upload a WAV file of like say 14 minutes,
Right.
And that's kind of been the max I've hit. I mean, I was working with a drummer who also played guitar, and he was writing this epic metal like thing, and it was quite cool actually. But we got to a point where it was like we couldn't upload mixes of it anymore, and maybe this leads into the concept of more storage based on your tier or whatever. But I'd love to be able to have a way around that sort of limitation, if reasonable.
Yeah.
The other thing about storage too is I've got projects that are well over 10 years old now that are sitting there, and all the WAV files and everything are still sitting there.
Yeah.
And these projects are like, they're mothballed, man. They don't need to have that on there anymore. Should I be going through those and nuking those files? I'm keeping them there, I guess, for posterity, but at this point, I've already downloaded everything I need. I have them off of there. Is that something that you would encourage us to go back and prune the old dead stuff and get rid of it? Or because that's something that kind of weighed on my mind. It's like if I ever needed to, I could go back and compose, and all my stuff from 2009 is still there. But at the same time, it's like, why am I keeping it there? Right. I have it backed up everywhere else.
Yeah, actually with the Amazon storage, it's actually pretty darn cheap. It's not that bad. Storage is not my biggest, that's not the biggest portion of the Kompoz bill. It's more on the CPU time and everything else. But yeah, I mean, I've actually thought about that as well. I mean, do you when you release a project or a mix, do you offer sort of this mothballing feature where you can just kind of archive those individual set tracks? I don't know, because I do find them valuable to go back to every once in a while.
I mean, I'd be down for being able to remove some of my projects from the site easily. Like if there's just an easy click here, download everything, and then you can just delete it and it's gone. I'd be cool with that.
But what about the people that you collaborated with? Would they be cool with that?
Well, nobody collaborates with me, so that's not a problem. No, but I mean that's fair. I mean, I guess you could probably send an email to everybody. I mean, that's a good point, though.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I do is, I have all my steps. I have everything, all the mix downs. I have all the stuff from the projects. So one of my collaborators reached out to me and was like, oh my God, I really needed that. It's like, here, I'd send you a link to it. Here's a Dropbox link. Here's a Google Drive link. You can have it. I make them available, but it seems like it's a waste to leave them on Kompoz, just sitting there private locked.
That's not the biggest problem. I see we've got 10 minutes. I don't know if this is going to cut us off or not. I hope not, but I see Joe's got his hand up and also Anthony. Joe, you want to
go? Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah, there probably isn't enough time to talk about it, but the question, because it's not super integrated to what you're presenting, but have you thought of adding a top lining feature?
What's that?
Top lining is really popular right now in hip hop and R&B. It's basically singers become your customers, and all the collaborations you're doing, whether it's an individual creating a project all by themselves or working in collaboration with other instruments, produce a final track that has no singing. So what I've done on the top lining sites is you go and you just listen to complete tracks and you can buy them. But then from there, as a singer, if I write a song and lyrics, I don't have to submit it and get someone's approval to actually go off and say, this is my new song. I either pay for a stereo file or I pay for stems. I can pay for non-exclusive rights or exclusive rights. And so you have a marketplace of tracks. So if you want to go look at something like this, the most common site for this, is because it has everyone in the world on there, is called BeatStars.
BeatStars.
BeatStars.com. But what happens is the music producers have their own individual pages too. So I can go, for a while I subscribed to some guy's thing where I paid, I think, $20 a month, or I don't know what it was. And then any track he submitted, I had access to.
Oh, wow.
He probably put up a new track every month or two. The thing is, it's all really electronic. And I'd like the tracks on Kompoz, but and it seems like over the years, there's been a problem finding singers or songwriters.
Yeah.
That's what I've been a fly on the wall for about 7 years now. I haven't been too active. And in the beginning, my singing was awful, but I'm much better now.
Come on, Joe, we need singers. Get off that wall.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the problem is, and I don't want to, I'm sure it's the same thing with guitar and bass and drums and that, but there's just something about, at least the way I feel as a singer, if I spend a lot of time writing an entire song and the lyrics and singing the melodies and submitting something, sometimes I don't even get a reply. Even if not even a thank you, but I'm not interested would be nice. But but the idea is, if I go to that work, I want to actually record it and share it. I don't want someone's approval.
I like
what
it.
happens with top lining is they'll sell tracks to, they've got people who've sold tracks to 1,000 different people for one track. And they have listings of all, almost like what you're doing on your radio site, the radio portion of the site, is you can listen, you can sort and search and build playlists and save things that you want to listen to later. You can download a watermarked version of the track, like a 128K watermarked version, so you can practice with a few tracks before you commit to buying them. And
like
it's a really great
I'd
thing
like
for
to
singers.
echo Joe, Raph, if I can jump in there. And the reason I'd like to echo Joe's idea of giving some sort of attention to the singer, or finding singers, is because the singer, when a song is out there, is vital. It's the singer's melody actually that creates the song. The instrumentation can be copied.
Right.
The way that the instrument is played actually can be copied, unless it's like Star Wars, and then there's a big deal. But
right.
The singer is vital. The singer, as far as the song is concerned, is something that might need its own type of mini platform when it comes to submission of an idea.
Right. Okay.
So I echo that.
Awesome.
Continue.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
And I love that point too, because it can kind of spread into a whole lot of things. What happens is the singers become more of your customers.
Right.
The songwriters, the producers serve as the singers, but even then, like sometimes all I need is a guitar track, like a nice acoustic guitar track or piano track. So there's ways that you guys already beat stars, simply because you can create projects, create teams, whereas generally the musicians are working on their own, or they have like a writing partner or something, but they're submitting on their own, either under a brand or individually. And what I could do is, if I could pay for, say, a piano track, I could write a song to it, but hey, maybe I want to now resubmit it as a project and add the other instruments.
Yeah.
Even something like this can kind of tie into the advertising part, but one of the things I'm begun to use is that service Fiverr to find like mixing and mastering.
Right.
So for example, as a singer, say I buy a track and now I've recorded my vocal part. Well, what if I could find someone on Kompoz that I could pay a little something to mix and master that for me? And I could even be adding a service like vocal editing, because I'm pretty good with Melodyne now.
Yeah.
Joe, that's why I'm raising my hand, is to say that very thing. That it would be really nice if there was a for hire section specifically for the things that are really hard to find on Kompoz, which are people who will mix and master. That's huge. And it's just, that's one of those skills out there that's really hard to find collaborators. And I always have to go elsewhere to hire somebody to do that piece of it. But it would be really nice if there was a Kompoz community of mixers and or engineers or somebody for hire to put those finishing touches on a track that you could just pay $50-100 or whatever it happens to be, whatever their rate is, to polish your track when it's all done.
So I will tell
has
you
that skill.
That is coming. I did not want to introduce that concept in this first iteration of 3.0, but it's part of the reason that track requests will become so important in this platform, because it positions us for exactly that. Imagine the concept of you post a track request with a bounty. There's sort of a dollar amount associated with this if you submit, that kind of deal. So, but that's not in this first iteration. I don't think
what would make that different from the one where you basically you were going to pay people to do it, a track before, and that didn't seem to work out real well. In fact, I think you lost a lot of people from that one.
Yeah, Kompoz, that was called Kompoz Studio, actually. I think the problem there was that it was too far removed from the rest of the website. And it was sort of launched as a separate different thing. I've learned a lot from that. I learned that primarily is that the using dollars is probably not the right way to do it. There's other ways to incent people to participate in your projects. Dollars is a component, but it's not the only component. So more on that coming soon.
Okay.
I do want to jump into the demo though, because I'm afraid we're going to run out of time. I see Joe, I know you've been waiting patiently. Did you have something to bring up? Joe, Nab, your hands up.
No, I was the guy who asked about
Oh,
top line. So I'm
okay,
ready for
great.
the demo.
Okay, all right,
Okay,
cool.
great.
Rebranding colors, goals, lots of stuff in here, but I want to jump over to this. Let's see, stop sharing. I'm going to share a different page. And that is going to be my Firefox. Okay. So you should be looking at my Firefox screen. By the way, you can do this right now. You can go to, you can see the URL up here at the top, 3-www.kompoz.com. That'll take you to the demo site. I want to say a couple of things before you jump over there. One is this site, feel free to add whatever you want. The projects have not been imported here. Your user accounts have not been imported here. It's pretty much a clean, fresh database. And here's the important thing, you'll see this when you try to create a profile and log in, is that I'm going to be wiping this stuff out. So don't use this to actually start collaborating with people on a serious basis, because the data is all going to go away. But I wanted to run you through this site. So remember I mentioned studio, radio, and communities. Those are the top three sort of things. Then I've got Kompoz University. So when you go to studio, the first thing you'll see here, oh, here's an onboarding screen. Again, I'm really trying to focus on education. So this sort of onboarding screen pops up the very first time you visit the site, tells you about what you're looking at, how the pickup board works, split sheets, finished songs on Kompoz Radio, so on and so forth. So that's going to be there. This is the pickup board, right? So you can start to see here that this person, this is me actually, is looking for a banjo track for a country song. It was posted 3 days ago. I can listen to it, I can preview it, and I've got some other options that I can do some other stuff here. Up here at the top, you can see I've got this filter component where I can find all tracks, track requests with any genre created by anyone for any project. But you can start filtering these down. I can say, you know what, I'm looking, show me just guitar track requests, right? And there's no matches for that. What do I have? Banjo, mandolin, ukulele, and banjo. Show me all of those. And there's only one of them right now. Again, I don't have a whole lot of data here. You guys hopefully will start playing around with this and filling out the site. The other thing you can do here is you can say down here at the bottom left where it says primary, secondary, and deselect. These refer to your talents. So me as a person who's logged in, if I click on primary, it's going to select my primary talent. So if I'm a guitar player and bass player, it'll select those for me and save those filters, by the way, so I don't have to keep doing this every time I visit the site. I'm actually not logged in here, so you won't see that. But so let's say I'm looking through the site, and let me log in. Actually, it's hard for me to sign in. Log in as me. Here's my big disclosure, right? This everything you post here will eventually be deleted before we officially go live in December. Just making sure you understand that. So I'm browsing through this site. I see this looks like a funky jazz. That looks interesting. I'm going to add it to a list. So I can click on that add to list button. I don't have any lists yet, but I'm going to create one. And I'm going to call this one, I don't know, interesting topics. I don't think I spelled that right, but whatever. And I'm going to just save that. So now it's saved into one of my lists, and I can just kind of keep browsing around. This one looks cool too. Let me add this one to a list. You can see now I've got my interesting projects list. And let me just add this one more so we kind of get the concept. And then what you'll see up here at the top next to pickup board, there's pickup lists. So when I click on that, you can see I've got my interesting projects list. And I can drag these around and just kind of sort them. I want to work on this funky sax first and maybe this one next, and just kind of drag that. Let me add another one. I'm going to call this one in progress. And now I can say, okay, I'm going to start working on this one next. Let me add it to my in progress list. So this just kind of becomes sort of like a little project management tool. If you're familiar with Kanban boards, it's kind of the same concept where you can just kind of manage your work this way.
Yeah, it's like Zen board. I like that.
Yeah. So let me click on this one now. And now I can read a little bit more about it. Looks like it was posted by this Elon Musk person, which is here's a description. Looks like it's gibberish right now. I can listen to it. So when I click on that, it brings up the little audio player at the bottom, and I can listen to what's been posted so far. Let me just stop that. So there's the new audio player at the bottom there. But I can also click on this download assets. So if there were any, remember I mentioned you can attach tracks to your track requests. So this is the way, you kind of click on this, download it, import them into your DAW, do your work. And then once you're ready, you come back up here and you submit your ideas to this track request. So let me just do that so you can kind of see how this works. I've got a clarinet solo that I recorded. Not really, but. So, and I can put a comment in here. Submit it. And now my submission is associated with this track request. The person who created the track request can come in here, listen to it, they can kind of play that back and you see how great this.
Yeah, that sounds like clarinet.
Very awesome. I can click on that. I can add comments. I can comment on this.
Hey, a question for you while you're doing this. How much of this is accessible?
Accessibility is something that I'm working on. This first pass, I really haven't given that much attention, but I know that we've got several Kompoz members who use screen readers and things like that. So ADA is going to be a big part of this when I launch it. So yeah, that's my sort of statement on that. We're definitely going to be working on that.
Okay. Yeah, I have a particular interest in it, given the singer in the band I'm in, Jenny Kay, who's on this.
Yeah.
She's a screen reader person as well, and I know it's something that she cares about, and so that's what I do.
Yeah, she messaged me quite a bit back in the day with Kompoz 2.0, and I did try to make some changes to accommodate, but I'm definitely going to do a lot more of that with the new platform. This platform is completely new technology, new front end technology, new back end technology. So I've got a lot more capabilities, and you'll start to see that as you start to use the site. It's going to be a lot faster, by the way. It's not like full page reloads every time you do something. It's just loading what it needs to get the job done.
Nice.
Yeah. So, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the process here. So I've just submitted this. I'm going to now log out and log in as eMuck. So let me do that. eMuck.
Any plans to add two-factor authentication to the site? Not that there's like super secure data here or anything, but it would really suck to get your account hacked. And
yeah, that's
somebody to read
actually
all your
something I've
projects.
thought a little bit about, using maybe SMS to send a login code or something along those lines. Is that what you're thinking?
I am. Yeah.
Google Auth.
Yeah, anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not high on the list.
Don't make it too complicated though. That's the most annoying of trying to log into
Yeah.
your banking account.
It
Just
would-
make it simple.
I would make it optional. You'd have to opt into it.
Cool.
All right, so I'm now EMUC. I logged in. I see that this Ralph guy submitted this thing. Let me listen to it. Sounds great. Oh yeah, love it. And I can now click on the accept button or decline. You can see those on the bottom left there. If I accept that, I now have an import button. And this allows me to import this track into my project. Right, so when I click import, the first thing it does is it brings up the folder list. This is the folder list that's part of my project. There's always a project associated with every track request. It's not visible to the users, but it's visible to me as the owner. So I'm going to put this in my set tracks folder, and it's now imported. So it's been accepted. It's been marked as accepted. I can still listen to it. But I want to show you now, I haven't really talked about the projects themselves. Let me close this audio thing. Let me go into the project. And so this is the project that it's associated with that track request. My name is Siri. I've got along the left a home, messages where I can communicate with my members. It's sort of a chat feature for the collaborators. Here's my file folder. Here's all my set tracks. And I should see the clarinet that was just imported 4 minutes ago. There's the track itself. This also has track requests. So these are the 2 active track requests that were posted. You can see one's got a submission, the other one doesn't. And releases and so on and so forth. But I want to go back to the tracks for a minute. So again, I've got this folder structure that I can kind of navigate around. Here's all my set tracks. I can go into any one of these, and this brings up a more detailed audio player. And this is where, again, you can kind of play this, but here's, I had mentioned the sort of capability to mark certain regions. You can just kind of click and drag, and it marks this. I can move it around, drag it around. I can grab the corners here, make it smaller. And it's kind of showing me down here on the bottom right what portion of the audio is selected. So that right now it's from 1 minute 17 to 1 minute 42. And as I move this around, you can see the numbers change. What's cool about that is now when I add a comment, in my little comment editor, you can see that that timestamp is there. So I can say, I like the part, and just click that, and it pastes it in there at this point.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now when you post it, let me unselect that. You'll see here in the comment, it's highlighted. So now when you click that, it marks that section of the track, and when you play it, you know, it's going to play that portion of it.
Yeah, that right there is worth all of 3.0 right there. That's the best.
Yeah, I'm really happy with it. It's really easy to use. Just, you know, it's literally click, drag, you know, move it around. You can also, I have this big blue button here that says select region. It just kind of randomly selects a portion of the WAV file, but then you can just kind of go in there and move it around. Yeah, so that's the commenting feature. Comments now have this reply capability. So, and as part of that, you can see it puts in this quote section. So you're kind of replying to that, thanks, you know, whatever. And it puts it in your comment, kind of quoting what was previously stated. So I think that rather than like with Kompoz 3.0, I have this sort of threaded commenting model with a bunch of indenting that gets really confusing and you kind of get lost in the indentations. Now you can just kind of reply to any post, and you know, you can actually remove part of it. You can just say, I like blah, blah, blah. It just kind of includes that in there, so you can kind of refer back to it. Yep, so that's, again, this is all private. You can kind of go in here and see who your users are. Right now it's the guy who started it, and I just got added because my track was imported. But you can invite other people. So you can just click the invite people, and I can add, well, else do I have in here? Mark, my son Mark, he's been added, but he's marked as pending, right? Because I can't just go randomly adding people to the project. They may not appreciate that. But he's got an invite now. So if I actually log out and I'll log in as him. Log in as him. What's going on here? Okay, for some reason it's not working. Oh, that's right. He created his own password. I'm surprised it's not showing the error message. I need to change that. Okay, I can't log in.
When I tried to create my account a couple minutes ago, I guess my password didn't meet the specification, which isn't listed, by the way, but it was hidden above the top of the screen, so I couldn't see what the problem was.
Ah, okay. That's probably what's going on. Okay, so I can't really show you that right now, but so let me jump into radio. There's a lot more to studio. You'll get in there and play around with it. I hope you guys will give me some feedback on that. But I wanted to show you the next section, which is radio. So this is where all the, actually, let me, it doesn't make sense unless I, yes, I understand. If I go to my projects, the way you create a release is you go over here on the left-hand side under releases, you click the plus, and you can just start kind of creating, you know, which track do you want to release? I'll select this radio mix that I've got. Super simple. You can upload artwork. You can put in your lyrics, credit other users. So I can just kind of go in here and say, you know, this guy, he did I don't know, lyrics. I can add Mark, who did drums. This Mark is not in here. Maybe that's the problem. He is there. Oh, he has a different name. Sorry. Drums. So, and so on and so forth, right? You can put in legal information in here, your copyright statement. If you've got a code that you already, you know, this track is being released and maybe Spotify and other services, you have an ISRC code. You can put in a publisher, about information, and so on and so forth. But essentially, it, you know, kind of gets published to radio, and this is where they appear. So the radio section, again, same audio player. I can come in here and look at these. So here's like the liner notes that, you know, I was just kind of walking through. Lyrics, all of that can be kind of posted here. Going back to radio, there's also play. So here's an ad. By the way, this is kind of what the ads will start to look like. So here's one for a Sennheiser microphone, right? Again, trying to not make them too annoying. They're not going to move. They're not going to be animated. They're not going to be videos. They're just kind of be placed like that. But I want to show you playlists. So this is an example of a playlist. So this one has only 4 songs in it right now. But you can see it's got a shuffle feature. You click play, it just kind of starts playing. When it gets to the end of the track, it should start on the next song. So let's see if it does. Yep, starts the next track. And it kind of shows me which one's playing with a little speaker down here at the bottom. So let me, I can't get to my volume button.
I'm really looking forward to using that. That's really cool.
Yeah. And this, by the way, you can mark stuff here on this player too. You know, so if you found something you wanted to practice the guitar riff or whatever, you can just kind of select that and play it over and over again. So yeah, that's the radio and playlists. And then on community. So let me talk a little bit about that and get this out of the way. So here is, okay. Here's all the public communities. There's only a few right now. By the way, there's another ad. So there's that Sennheiser ad again, kind of sticks to the left there, sort of out of the way. I can go into the community open mic. And so here's an example of a post that I created. This one has a song attached, right? So this is a released song. So I can kind of play that. Here, Mark, he posted one with a bunch of pictures. You can kind of click on the pictures and kind of scroll through them. Very nice. This one has more pictures. This one has a track request. So this is me asking for vocals. And again, you can just kind of play them from right here, or I can click it and it takes me right to the track request where I can download the assets and do all of that.
I like that.
Yeah. So when you create a post, here's all the different things that you can attach. So you can see I can tag people. And the purpose of tagging people is they will get notifications. So again, if I tag, let's see my son Mark. You can see it puts his name down here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, song with Mark or whatever. So he'll get a notification when this thing is posted. I can attach any sort of photos, as you saw. Here's how I attach track requests. So here's all the track requests that I posted. Same kind of filtering is up here, so I can just find the one I want.
If you tag somebody, can they untag themselves?
I hadn't thought
Let's
about
say
that.
let's say Mark doesn't want to do that, and it's like, why did you tag me on this most popular thread on the site, and I get 50 spams a day about it?
I'm writing that down. Yes,
Don't
that's
tag me.
definitely a feature that needs to be there. Without a
So
doubt.
with your ability to add tracks, is it only your own tracks, or can you add tracks from other users there?
Track requests, because track requests are public. So yeah, you can.
The little planet icon, yeah, that one.
This one is for track requests, right? So these are, yes, pretty much. If you can find it, you can attach it. So like this is not mine, but I can stick it in there, you know, and say, hey, this guy is looking for a country, blah 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 blah, help him out, kind of deal.
Got it.
Yeah, and I should be able to add multiple. Why is it not letting me do that? It should let me do multiple. I'll have to look at that. And then you can also attach songs. So like my song Yo Dog gets attached there, and playlists. I can even do playlists. Here's my Roth tunes. Right. So this is going to have 2 people tagged, a track request, a playlist. And when I post that, by the way, you can do things like bold. You can even do emoticons now. I think. Oh, apparently not. Oh, another little bug. I just uploaded a bunch of stuff this morning. I think I broke that because I was changing the Z index on things.
That's right. Oh, there it was. It popped up behind you.
Yeah, I saw that. It was behind the actual dialog box. Okay, so here's the thing I just posted with all those different things attached, and pretty easy, pretty straightforward, easy to do. Yep. So you'll see that communities. Here's all. It looks like you guys already started to jump in there. Great. I see Stuart's already created an account. Thank you. So here's where you can go and see the moderators. Actually, this one doesn't have any moderators. Who the admins are. On the communities page, there's a guidelines, and you can see who the moderators are for the entire website. So I've kind of listed them all here. Yeah, and then there's Kompoz University. So this is the big help section. Just a bunch of topics, getting started, projects, publishing. I'm going to keep expanding on this. Here's Kompoz 101, core concepts, things like that. And then this is where you can go in, and anyone can go in and add comments to this, Also, remember to thank, I don't know. So those kind of get associated with those different articles. And is there anything else I wanted to go over? Check the other projects. Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. I think you're going to start discovering a lot more as you get in there and play around with it. I see a bunch of hands up, so let me go with Stephen Wright.
Hey, thanks. The initial thing was the genre. I know you and I talked about this a few years ago, but the genres are really restrictive. Like I don't play rock. I play a specific type of thing, and I would like to find other people that sort of like that thing. And if you're looking for rock and Chuck Berry comes up, I'm not Chuck Berry by a long stretch,
Right.
Oh, I completely agree. In fact, children's music was always missing. Holiday music was always missing. And those are two genres
that's fair. Yeah.
that
Okay.
would love to see.
And then just one minor UI thing, like click and drag of these tracks would be really nice. Like I just uploaded one and didn't put it in a folder. Just being able to drag it into the correct folder would be pretty sweet.
Okay. I don't have dragging, but I do. It is pretty simple to. Let me just go in here.
I moved it quickly. I mean, it wasn't a big deal. I just the quick drag stuff would be sweet though.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so you got to kind of come in here and say move, and then you select where you want to move it to. Yeah, I hear you. Okay.
But it's great so far, man.
I want to say something about genres because, and I didn't talk about your profile settings, but under favorite genres, so I've got rock, country, and reggae. And again, you can kind of drag these around. Priorities are important. But you can see in here under rock, I did add a comment that classic rock is really what I'm interested in. You might want to put, metal, whatever.
Will that show the search?
It will. Now, I was concerned about having too many genres too granular because it makes the filtering and sorting kind of difficult. So finding that right balance of because when I do the filtering, by the way, let me go to talents here while I'm here. So that was my genres. I also have my talents. So I put in here that I am a bass player, and then I can put in a comment. I play Fender Jazz and Fender Mustang, whatever. Guitar, again, priorities, you can kind of reorder these. And you can also add the concept of secondary talents. So maybe I play a little bit of harmonica. I'll try. The reason I have these separated is because when you are searching, it's sometimes important to be able to find things that, maybe I'll try a harmonica track, but that's not really my forte. If you're really looking for a bass player, then I'll help you out. So this is going to be important in the searching and filtering and all of that. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I play sax, but it's been years since I was very serious about it. And I got invited to play sax on a tune, and I was like, okay. And I had to spend like a week trying to get my chops together just to be competent, And there's so many great sax players. I felt embarrassed.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So in the community section, which I don't have yet, I'm going to build that section out where you can find users. You'll be able to search and sort based on their primary and secondary talents. So yeah.
How many predefined genres do you have already?
Not a whole lot. Here's the list. And I wrote down.
Is there a way we could submit to some? I mean, I'm not suggesting we add like Zydeco emo core or anything like that, but there are some probably standard ones that we could expand on this.
For
that
sure.
People would probably want to look for.
Yeah. And I'm going to kind of rely on you guys to maybe send me some of those during this build out phase. So we can kind of talk about that. But I do want to show you here under favorites. Now that I'm logged in, when I click that, it kind of highlights all of those for me. So when I click apply now, it's going to, you'll see that country, reggae, rock, all of those are sort of, filtered for me. Same thing with my talents. I can do primary and I can do secondary if I want to and apply those. And now there's nothing that matches, but kind of get the concept. All right, I see a lot more hands up here. Jade.
All right. I actually had a question regarding a feature that you kind of took out a while ago, which was to do with the Creative Commons licensing. It seems like that's not available anymore. Could you comment on that?
I'd kind of forgotten about that. So actually, I want to turn the question back to you. How would you want to use that, and why is it important? And I'll tell you, the reason it became an issue was because of international members. A lot of them are part of guilds and things like that that wouldn't allow them to participate in those types of projects. But maybe that's not a big concern. I don't know. I'd like to hear how you might want to use that.
Well, part of what my project that I'm doing is creating what I call an open source musical, and so I've had to put in the description that it would be licensed. Anything we do will be licensed under Creative Commons license. So it would have. I remember it used to be there many years ago, and it was something that I was really interested in.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually a fair point. I've taken a note here. I think I should bring that back. I'm trying to think of where the right place that would show up. I think it's part of the track request, right? If you're submitting to a track request, you need to know if this is going to be a Creative Commons or something else.
I mean, there was a lot of concern from members who are no longer here, ironically, around the area of traditional copyright versus Creative Commons, and the ability with Creative Commons for your material as submitted and licensed to a project to then be used otherwise. That was one of the large concerns. Like if I submit a guitar track or a guitar solo to a project that's Creative Commons, and depending upon which of the four main licenses there are, there may be more now, but some of those licenses allowed, since I'm licensing the use of my contribution to the project owner, some of those licenses were open enough that it also allowed someone else to come in and just take my submission and use it as they wanted.
Yeah.
And this opened up, kind of a can of worms for people. Again, most of those people aren't here anymore, ironically, but there were people who, had developed sort of enmities with each other, and so we had members grabbing other people's tracks and using them to kind of abuse the first one, and I think that drove a lot of this, as I recall, as well.
Yeah. No, it's a good discussion topic. Definitely gonna write that one down and think a little bit more about it.
I do like it as an option for the project owner, and
Yeah,
I think you're right. If you have it clearly stated what the license is, associated with the project, when you're looking at it from a kind of contributor's view, that should solve it, I would think.
All right, let me go over to Jim. You've got your hand up again, Jim?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Anthony?
Hey, sir, thanks for having us this evening, and thank you for spending time on all of this. I want to ask about how is the notifications going, and maybe you could walk through an example of this. How is the notification sent out for when you invite somebody to your project? Is that still going out through email? Because I've run into situations where I got my project all uploaded, I got the demo uploaded, I got all the separations uploaded. I go invite a bunch of people and I hear nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, are the emails going out? Are people just ignoring the emails? Are they going to spam? And maybe I would like to see, okay, after a certain amount of time, if somebody doesn't respond, reject it, throw it back to me, and I can then send it to somebody else. Because otherwise, what I'm doing right now is I'm just inviting 12 drummers, and whoever is the first one that picks it up is the one I'm going with. And then I go, oh, well, that person can't provide me separations, and now I have to go find somebody else. So and maybe you could show an example of like, how does that work if you're ready to go and you need you're inviting somebody. How is that all set up?
So let me go to my projects. Let me go to this guy, and I'm going to invite Emuck, because I can log into that account. Okay, so now I'm going to log out, log in as Emuck. Yes. And when I go to my projects, actually, I need to change this, but here's the banner. You've been invited to the project, Hey Little Girl, and I can either accept or decline this. I can listen to it before I even decide, but the notification will appear there. If Emuck decides to ignore this, I think I have it set to 20 days right now. After the 20th day, and I may change that, you'll get an email that said, essentially it was ignored, try again, invite somebody else, that sort of thing. But you'll get both an email and a notification, one of the little, stars at the top. But if I go and accept this, go ahead.
Are they still receiving it through email though, or are they still receiving an email notification for these?
Yes. Yeah, they'll definitely get an email.
Well, it depends on your settings, right? Because, for example, I have email turned off for everything except for invites, and you can turn that off too, I think.
Yep, you can. Here's all your different.
Yeah, and all my notifications I get on the site.
Correct. Right. So you get both. Depending on your preferences here. So here I have allow project invites, and there should be a receive notifications via email, right? So you can turn that on and off.
Okay, so maybe if you could turn off getting notifications for invites, that's maybe why some of these I feel like are going to the black hole, because maybe people are just not logging back into the site. Is there any way to determine and maybe filter and search by people who are logged in the last 10 days, logged in the last 20 days? That way I'm not sending an invite to somebody who hasn't logged in a year, because then I know they're not interested in the site, especially if like the plus and the other things are going away. How do I know who's really an interested person in collaborating?
Good question. So on every profile now, and the profile is not finished, so don't look at this because it's kind of ugly right now. But one of the things I am going to start including, you can see right here, it says last login 1 minute ago. So you can kind of see how recently they've logged in. You will see how recently they've logged in, even before you send the invite. What you're bringing up is maybe another good point, is when you go to send the invite, maybe show it right there, or filter by that time. Is that kind of what you're suggesting?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like there's I got a lot of stuff and I'm sitting on invites. I'll send out 20 invites and I'll get maybe back one person that says I've declined.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like, okay, either the song sucks or it's not getting to the people to let them know they've been invited. And it's my standpoint is like, if you're not interested, just decline it and I'll move on to somebody else. But I don't know if somebody's even getting the notification that they've been invited.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep. Okay.
But thank you.
Yep. Thank you. All right.
Maybe an option for if a user hasn't logged in I don't know, 6 months, a year, something like that, their account goes into like a not active state, and you ping them with an email every 6 months or something like, hey, if you still want to be active in the site and listed as available for projects, please log in. Within the next 30 days, you'll be set to not active. And then that way people can filter on you're active because they've logged in and they want to be considered. Because, even though I haven't really used the site in over a year, doesn't mean I'm not interested or available. It's just time sucks.
Yeah.
It's the problem with the site now is trying to figure out who's the dedicated people that are going to get back to you and who's just somebody that tried it for 1 week and then, hey, this ain't my bag, I'm going to go to something else.
Yeah.
So trying to find somebody that can actually work with you is probably my biggest challenge. And then there's some people that are just so busy. They're like, hey, I just can't get to you right now. I'm going to check back in 6 months.
Yep. Okay. I hear you. Yeah. So clearly the message there is to help you find people who are active and are going to participate in projects. So I'll give that some thought. Definitely.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, Mr. Babcock.
Hey, thank you. Let me drop my lower my hand. So I have a question about something we haven't talked about at all, but I brought it up a few times in the past, and I was wondering if there's been any thought about it. One of the things I would be a big fan of seeing is a band user, a specific type of user associated with a band.
Okay.
You know, what I've done in the past, you know, when we've joined together as members here, you know, to form a band, is create a new user, you know, like usually a free one, because I'm not going to pay for that maybe, but just so I can have a place to promote the band stuff directly. And it seems to me like maybe that should be a special kind of a account, or a special kind of a grouping of accounts where you can say, this is a band. Let me move my hand over here. This is a band, and here are the members of the band, and link to the Kompoz accounts, and allow, for example, when a band, say, releases an album, allow for it to be promoted through that. This might tie into your ad stuff, right? I mean, I pay to promote things that way, and having a band user means, you know, I'm not playing around with the system to create one, which is, you know, what I've been doing, like I said. Right. But it's like there's a specific type of account, band, and then, you know, that maybe is a free, you know, just a free account associated with the members. You know, it looks like it would be something, because I know a lot of people here kind of form virtual bands within the confines of Kompoz.
And is that different from what used to be a user group?
In my mind, yeah, the user group stuff didn't really, it didn't really serve it well. I tried. What I ended up having to do in order to kind of feel like I was promoting, like, for example, if you want to promote something on the community page, you would like it to come from the band, but you can't post something to the community page from a user group.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. So I would log into the Icarus machine user and then post something on the community saying, hey, we've released our song, you know, yeah. And then I would log back out, log back into myself, you know.
So Facebook, I think, has a similar concept where, like, I know that when I'm on Facebook with my real life band, I've got a page for that band, and I can switch and sort of be that band person as I'm posting things. I think that's kind of what you're talking about. I wouldn't see that as a user. I wouldn't call it like a band user. I would actually introduce the concept of a band and allow that band to have a page with all its, you know, finished songs and things like that, and attach users to that band.
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, I was calling it a band user because of the model of having users. But if we wanted to introduce, you know, band pages, I mean, I'd be a fan of that. I think that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Virtual band, since we are all virtual. All right, Jade, you got your hand up. Jade, you saw the question, or was that from before?
Yeah, it's unfortunate in Zoom. You have to actually go in and lower your hand. It doesn't automatically lower for you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been fun. I'm going to stick around if you guys have any other questions, but I think that's everything I wanted to go over. There was a couple of other slides that I didn't get to, but we can go over those some other time.
Just a quick question. When this finally goes live, what happens to all the music under the old? How are you going to port that across?
Here. Yeah, so right now the site there's nothing on there, right? So you can kind of play around with it. But sometime in early December, I'm going to essentially wipe everything off of this site and import everything from Kompoz 2.0 into this database, essentially. It's a new database. So all of your tracks and projects and everything will be here.
Okay.
Where can we send feedback for other things we'd like to see?
Well, you can use Compose and send me messages directly, or there is that Kompoz 3.0 group. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see that. Maybe just jump in there and join it and post messages there.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Or should I create a group here on this site? I don't want to lose any camp.
Just
Don't
keep
make
it
it.
in one
Don't
group.
overcomplicate it. Don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah. We'll keep it on the old site for now. Cool. All right. Anything else? This has been fun.
This has actually been really good. I appreciate you
Yeah,
taking.
that was.
Hey, I want to thank you guys for taking the time and really showing interest and helping me develop this over the years. It's been fun. You know, and I tell people, to me, it's like one of the greatest joys is to wake up and just listen to new songs that are being created, you know, by people that I've never met. It's just such a cool concept. So it makes me happy every day. All right, then. Thank you guys, and I will see you on Compose.
All right. Thank you much.
All right.
All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.